And I think we're live. Yes.
Woo!
um, Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us on OreAni. This wonderful year, 2025. We've been doing this for, I think, close to or over 10 years now, right? Something like that. Long time. Really
Wow.
appreciate you all joining us every single time. We got with us Jessica,
There.
Albert,
Hello, everyone.
and Dragon,
Hello. Wee 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 woo.
the one and the only cosplay dragon. As you can see, he's got his
No.
little dragon maid hat on. But yeah. So let's go ahead and get going on this new year. We're going to skip quite a few titles, especially the stuff from continuing on from last year. And we're going to start with this title. Once again, I apologize for my bad pronunciation, but I think it's Akuyaku Reijo Tensei Oji-san. From bureaucrat to villainess, Dad's been reincarnated. And this is on High Dive. It's I think almost all the shows we're going to be talking about, with the exception of a few, are at least 3 episodes long. So, what do you have to say about the show, Dragon?
So I actually saw this anime. I saw a clip of the outro on TikTok, surprisingly. And so I was like, wait, this looks funny. And so obviously I was like, okay, I gotta figure out the name and then go watch it. And then I watched the first episode and I'm just like, I wonder how this is gonna go. I mean, like, cause, like, you know, it has villainous in the title, and we've had so many like villainous animes that kind of copy off of each other, being like, oh, it's a girl who was either reading a book about, you know, a story like a reverse harem story, or like playing an ultimate game, and then you're playing, like, she plays as the opposing female character to the female lead. But, like, you know, it's always been a girl that reincarnates in that position. But then to have like a father reincarnate, I was just like, okay, this sounds really funny, and I wonder how it would go. Just because, you know, like, you wouldn't expect like a father to really know what's going on, but then as you watch it, you understand, like, oh, so this is how it's gonna work, being that, like, it's a game that his daughter has played, so he's watched his daughter play this and, like, seen what's going on. But he himself is like an otaku, so he knows a lot of a lot of the otaku culture, and can, like, bring up terms about all the scenarios that could happen. But it's been a really great and funny watch, especially since he kind of switches between like game knowledge and then also like parent knowledge.
All right. Anything to add, Albert?
So yeah, I do have been enjoying this quite a bit, and the funny moment comes because, you know, he's a 50-some-year-old bureaucrat, meaning he works for the city, so he's not a salary man, but he is a public official, right? I think he works in the accounting department. Anyway, now he has a unique view of life. So everything that he tries to do, he's like, I shouldn't really mess up this game that I'm in. I think I'm in a game. So I'll try to be the villainous, but everything he does kind of backfires. And just like in what was the title of that villainous with Bacarina? You know, everything he does, his character Grace ends up getting more and more I guess people love her more and more. They start to have feelings for her, and everything that she does kind of trying to get the main character, the pink-haired girl Anna, to match her with one of the ikemen, right? Kind of backfires, and everyone starts having feelings for Grace. Oh, that there's that comedy. Now, it's also a slightly fresh take on the whole villainous, which is a subgenre of the otome game, which is the subgenre of isekai. So you have all these villainous shows recently where they're trying to do more and more unique things. So then first it was being reincarnated into the villainous role. Then it was the villainous is not really a villainous. And there's the villainous who is looping through, right? You can call it regression or time loop or whatever, where they keep having the same fate and trying to avoid that horrible fate. So there's that, and now we're getting not the game people, right, becoming the villainous. So in this case, it's the dad. So yeah, isekai. There's gonna be a lot more varieties coming in, and the villainous subgenre of that is also no different. So there'll be other variations that we'll probably see in the future, but this is definitely enjoyable. It's based on a manga, not a light novel, as far as I know. So I was reading the manga and was a fan of it. But the adaptation is definitely worth watching because the emotion and the voice acting, it just adds a whole nother layer to the manga. And some of the manga artwork is rather plain. The lines are plain, the background's plain, but they put some effort into the anime adaptation, so I'm really enjoying it. So I highly recommend it. If you like isekai, if you like otome game, if you like villainous, it's a relatively fresh take on it, so check it out.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for that. Let's go ahead and move to the next title. Give me a second. I'm sorry. It's called Ameku Takao no Suiri Karate. Or Akumeku MD, Doctor Detective. So I've only seen one episode, but it is somewhat entertaining. I don't know if you guys watch a lot of those like semi-detective shows that are out there for anime that are like Beautiful Bones, or I think it was one title that I could think of that kind of has the same feel as this, where this girl Takao is a doctor, and through patients that are coming through the ER, it looks like she notices things and then tries to figure out what has happened, what causes these incidents. And I guess she's helped the police a few times beforehand, but I haven't seen enough to figure out like what the overarching arc is. But I just want to mention that it is pretty entertaining. It's got quite a few pretty popular voice actors. I think there was the guy who does Archer's voice, and then of course you got Yotsuba's voice actress in there. Or I think, but it's going to be one of those weird shows where you have these really weird cases, I guess, where like this really can't happen in real life. But we're going to go along with these people and try to figure out what's happened and pick up the clues to try to solve this mystery kind of thing. So, not much else to say about that show.
Would you watch it and then like continue it, or what are your thoughts about trying to continue it?
I may want to. I might want to try to continue. It depends on another show because there's another show that's pretty serious. That if I pick that one up, I might drop this one though. To tell you the truth.
Mm.
So I can only have it in me for one serious show a season. I rather have fun. But the next title we can talk about is The Daily Life of a Middle-Aged Online Shopper in Another World.
Oh no.
And as of right now, we're merely watching this for fun to see how bad it is or how bad it can get as a group. And by bad, I'm not really mentioning his story. I mean, the story kind of has these moments, but by bad is the animation. The animation is all over the place. Where faces are distorted. They don't look the same from frame to frame. Even movements, you'll see it's just the frame moving side to side or up and down. There's like no actual frames being animated to make the movement fluid. They're just like sliding a picture around. And one of the biggest issues also we found was their inconsistency to the scale. So they'll like scale something down really small, but you'll see the blades of grass are still the same size. So everything, it just looks so weird in a lot of scenes.
Not only scale, right? There's actual like just purely like inconsistencies with like how things are drawn and stuff like that.
Yes. And for the most part, it's become a fun game for us to watch this and see where can we find the mistake, where can we see this. Like in one of the scenes, I believe they were in a carriage and the maid was sitting down and her whole outfit was white when she's wearing a black dress with a white apron on it. So there's just so many different things out there in this show that's just really, really bad and wrong. There's a scene where he's grabbing clothespins from a basket and you don't see his hand going into the basket and grabbing anything. It's just behind it moving up and down. So, yeah, this show, I've read the manga and I would say read the manga. The manga does end abruptly. I mean, it was kind of sad how it just came to an end where they did. And one of the biggest reasons I was hoping for this anime to somewhat succeed, which it isn't, is I was hoping maybe they could continue the story from where the manga left off. But seeing as how this show isn't getting any love in the animation department, I don't think that's going to be a possibility anymore. But what's your opinion, Dragon? I don't know. Do you have anything else to say about it?
N- no, the animation makes it such a hard watch. Um, that I'm just like, I just don't even want to bother putting time into this anime. I rather put my time into another anime or like something else that like I haven't had the chance to watch yet.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. You don't really mention the premise, but this is a isekai. This is a middle-aged man, and this is online shopper. So if you want that, you might as well just go watch Campfire Cooking in Another World, which is
Yeah.
far, far better.
Yes. So yeah, scary show. That's all I can say. And that's kind of under everything I've seen so far. I think one of the shows back in the day we think was Wizard Baronsters or Magical Warfare. I think was a show that we made fun of a lot for being so terrible. This might be on par with that. Next up, we got this. It's not an isekai, surprisingly. It's a fantasy. I left my A-rank party to help my former students reach the dungeon depth. Based on a light novel. There's also a manga, and I've read the manga, so that's why I was going to watch this as well. Though I've only seen the first episode. This is one of those shows I felt like it had a slow release at the start. or at least it only released on Sundays. I can't remember what day it is, but I remember there was only one episode when I tried to get into it, and I missed watching this week. But as I've already read the manga, that's why I felt like I didn't have to get too much into it. But it's Yuke, which I think in the manga they named him Luke. He's a red mage, which is known for buffing and debuffing spells within a group. He decides to leave his party rather than, I think, get kicked out in most typical shows, because he's being not treated fairly. I mean, even his portion of the rewards is lessened because they feel he's not pulling his weight. And while trying to form a new party, he ends up running into a student of his that he had taught the basics of adventuring, and through this meetup, she finds out that he doesn't have a party anymore, and asks him to join them in the party to go into these. I can't remember. Are they dungeons? I can't remember what they call them. I'm probably just calling. Yeah, it says Depths of the Dungeon in the title.
Yeah, dungeons.
So they join hands with him, and realize that he's really, really strong and has skills far beyond what I guess a normal red mage would be, because they're constantly mentioning how he's able to cast multiple spells rather than just one spell at a time as such, or his spells are more potent than I guess what you would typically see just based off of the reactions. But overall, like, I don't think it was that bad of a show. It's just that there's so many others out there that this could easily just be left behind. But I'm not going to say anything bad about this. It doesn't seem bad. It's not in my book. It's not something you should just dismiss right away, though. What about you, Albert?
So I watched 2 episodes. I too have read the manga. The character designs, in the manga, they are more young looking, but he is supposed to be 20. And even though one of the other girls looks like a lolly, she's also 20. So, when they say student, he was more like an instructor to them, not really their teacher. So that's one thing I really dislike in anime. But anyway, yeah, so the problem here is after watching the second episode, I decided to drop it because there was already a drop in animation quality. So there's the B plot. The A plot is following Yuke and the party that he forms with the girls, of course. And the B plot is the former party that he left, and they're just screwing up left and right. So that plot line, the animation just took a huge drop. It was bad. I mean, outright bad, in my opinion. But, and yeah, it's a variation on the kick from the party, but the former party is a bunch of idiots and don't really know what the hell they're doing, and he's totally unappreciated. The weird thing about this show is that they record or live stream their dungeon conquests. So other people at the guild and other parties see them, actually fighting monsters and defeating them and all this. So that's a weird part of the story I'm not really on board with, but whatever. That's the setting. But at the same time, if you are live casting whatever your dungeon thing, people should know that, Yuke has unique abilities that he has in the past with his party, with his former party, done multiple enchantments and multicasting and playing all the support roles. And yet no other party in existence seems to know about him. Only the guild master and his assistant eventually, was revealed that they already knew that he's an awesome person, adventurer, and a upright guy, and all of that, right? So it's just weird to me. It's like, you're live casting uh, a sports program, and the guy in the back, the halfback or whatever, is doing a great job, but no one ever talks about him. That's not how it would work unless there's some weird thing about their live casting. I don't understand how they have the one gizmo that they used to record and live cast their adventures. So it's just a little weird to me. And the fact that the other adventurers don't know that his former party are a bunch of idiots, or that they're really mean to him, and they're always ridiculing him. It, it's all just being broadcast. So why wouldn't people know about it? So I don't know. It's just weird. And the drop in animation quality in episode 2. And I already know where the story is going, so I'd rather just continue reading the manga.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The only thing I have to say about the broadcasting thing is I think they have to actually activate it. It doesn't mention if their former team actually used it a lot or used it at all. So that could be why there's a lack of information. But
I mean, it seems like they were, because well, yeah, actually, I don't know that for sure, but to get higher recognition, everyone is trying to do that, right? It's like, hey, I'm a VTuber, but I'm not going to broadcast anything. That's not how it works. You have to be out there selling yourself, to get the good juicy quests and the be selected for certain quests and all of that. So it doesn't really make sense how it's just made up so that his former party, looks even worse than they actually would be, right? And that makes him be a saint. So I don't like the fact that they're pushing that narrative, and it's so contrived. But yeah, but that's it.
all right. Thank you. Let's go to the next title, which I think we're going to have Jessica talk about. Which makes me kind of curious. This is what Bang Dream of Magica?
Yeah, this one's kind of weird.
Is this an offshoot of is this kind of like Love Live where they have all those other groups and other things, or?
I believe so. I don't really know much about Bong Dream as a whole, except that it seems to be a mixed media project of some kind that tends to focus on bands, which some of them have real live crossover concerts and stuff. And I'm not really clear on Ave Mujica because I went in a bit blind, but
I
don't
can
know.
help you with that, Jessica.
Yeah,
So
please do.
even though I haven't watched any of them, okay, this is kind of a offshoot of the previous Bang Dream. I think was Go. So there, early on in that series, a band member just quit, and that allows the new band to form, right? So this is following that girl that quit,
Okay.
and her reasons. She didn't even tell the former band why she quit. She just said, "I'm out of here," right? Even though she had all these personal issues, she just hid them and said, "See ya." So this is her story as you follow and find out about all the drama. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh yeah. So not knowing any of that, I just took the anime at face value, and it's following a cast of characters who are all part of this band called Ave Mujica. And they wear masks on stage. They have these really elaborate, kind of almost sort of gothic Lolita costumes, not quite. And it's very much about the aesthetic and appearances and stuff. And so the characters that they portray in the band are dolls. And so they use a lot of wordplay and stuff between each song I don't know if they're advancing a meta plot or if it's almost like poetry in a way. But then they'll do a little bit of that, talking about life as a doll and blah 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 blah, and then they'll go on and play a song. And I actually really like the music. It's if I were a 14-year-old, I would eat this shit up. It's pretty dark, emo, lots of minor key type songs. Totally my jam, especially, young Jessica's jam. And you are learning about the personal lives of the band members. And basically, at the beginning of the story, they want to remain anonymous, but one of the band members, who is a social media influencer of some kind, doesn't want to play along. She wants to boost the popularity of the band and her, I guess, Instagram account or something. And so she unmasks everybody during the Budokan concert. So it's a pretty big deal. And one of the characters does not take this very well. And the leader of the band has a pretty awful home life. And I've seen 3 episodes, and it's pretty much about their struggles at home and then trying to get this band off the ground, sort of a thing. And it's animated in 3D. And it's better than anything Polygon has ever done. So normally I don't care for 3D anime, but this actually is all right. They use a lot of 2D animation for the close-ups, but about 90% to 95% of it is 3D. So I hesitate to come out and recommend it just because it's such an oddball, but my plan is to continue watching it just out of curiosity more than anything else.
So from the way you talked about it, this really seems really drama heavy, huh?
Oh yeah, I would say that it's melodramatic at times. Because all the emotions are just cranked up to a 9 or a 10 or 11, depending on the scene in question. And there's a lot of dramatic stuff happening when it's pouring down rain, that sort of thing. But it's not bad. It certainly has a vision, which is to sell singles. And gosh darn it, the music's good. So I don't know what else to say about it.
Would you say it has a good balance of like the dark moments to at least some bright moments, or is it just pretty dark throughout the whole thing?
There's very little in terms of levity, because the interpersonal relationships in the band aren't particularly good, especially with the influencer character. She is pretty aggressive and not willing to concede at all, and she's always kind of picking at people and trying to get a rise out of them. But on the outside, she looks like one of those cute, quirky, tee-hee, ooh-woo type characters, but in reality, she is not that. So any amount of levity that she could bring is gone, because you're seeing who she really is.
Dang. I might check out one episode to see that, because I love tragic stuff in my animes. But it might be too heavy for me.
Yeah, let me know what you think if you do.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next title.
Okay, I am back. My sister called me for help at work, so
Oh, welcome back, buddy.
thank you.
Next up, we're going to talk about is Ame Noble on the Brink of Ruin. So I might as well try mastering magic. And this, oh my god, this just screams light novel all the way. And with so many of these,
And not very good.
Yeah, and with so many of these, it upsets me because all of these shows are just so much the same that I'm starting to forget their origin. Was this guy reincarnated? Was he isekai'd? Was he... What happened? How did he get here again?
This one, he suddenly found himself isekai into a little boy who's, I think, 5 or 7 years old. Like at a party, all of a sudden he's like, what? Right? So no explanation. It's not like a reincarnation from a baby. He's just suddenly in this boy's body, and people think he's acting kind of weird. It's also weird that they have to keep explaining things he should logically know, but you know, so yeah, it is ostensibly a isekai. He is the fourth or fifth son of a noble family, and in this setting, the noble family has to do something of significance and be acknowledged as such within 3 generations of obtaining their nobility title, or they can be unnobled, right? And so his father is like the second generation, and so at this point, if his father tried to do something of significance and screwed it up and got a bunch of men killed, and so his only hope was to have a daughter who he could marry into another noble family and continue his nobility line, right? So it's kind of this weird setting. And as the fourth or fifth son, the main character is not really expected to do much. In fact, he's treated like a second-class citizen in his own house. And his one older brother is like, yeah, that's not a good situation. I'm gonna, as soon as I can, I'm gonna get out of here and do something on my own. You should think about it. All right. So that's kind of the weird setting. Turns out the kid has becomes interested in magic and is actually, of course, he's actually really good at magic and starts to learn and all of that. And now his father's like, "Oh, you have magical talent. Yes, use it for my good, right?" And in the meantime, the kid's like, "I think I'm going to, do something else, but I won't tell you because I don't want to get dragged into this." So there's a whole thing about him trying to use his magic in a creative way to develop merchandise and be a merchant and do things. So it's a very typical OP protagonist with super magic, and I think it's even in the first episode he succeeds in using magic to clone himself so that his clone can go and do I think one of them stays at the house to provide an alibi, and the other one goes to the city or the next city over in a different territory so they can do trade, merchandising, right? Because he was unable to conduct business in his own territory because his older brother is trying to block him from doing so. So yeah, I think that's the summary of the first episode. Oh yeah, he meets like a stranger in the woods who teaches him about a lot more about magic. But suddenly, that person teaches him for like a day. He acquires all this knowledge, and then he leaves after giving him almost like a relic that allows him to store all these magical spells in the ring instead of in these huge books. I dropped after the first episode, needless to say.
Yeah, not that great of a show. And even their magic telling of how magic is used is, I think, pretty stupid. Like you mentioned, they have to use books, and typically you have to be holding that book to cast that one spell. So you have a book for each spell, not like one book has lots of spells. No, it's one book for each spell. And also for like multicasting, you have to do it by prime numbers, which is a weird thing they added. So like if he wants to cast 4 spells at once, he can't. It's just not possible. You have to do 3 or 5. And they're just weird rules that they put in this world that just don't make sense. But of course, our protagonist is just going to get through it all, go through everything easily, pick up his harem candidates as he goes through life sailing easy, and there's just no hardships for this guy at all. Everything just tends to go for him. So I like my protagonist to struggle a little bit, so that his when he saves the world, it's more fulfilled. But I don't think that's going to happen here in this show. Oh, and he does make contracts with other girls, and when he makes contracts with them, they all become beautiful. Which is so weird in this world. So, yeah. Let's go to the next title, which I have no idea what this is. Starts with the C. Oh, let me see if it's in the O's, because I don't see it in the C's for my titles. Oh, I don't have the title. The title card's not in the folder. What is this? Orb, the movement of the Earth?
That's continuing from last season.
Oh, that's why I don't have the title. Okay. My bad. We'll go on to the next
But you should
one.
watch it. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, you absolutely should watch it.
Oh, okay. Then we'll go to the next one then, which is class something. I'm getting married to a girl I hate in my class. I saw this. This was a big announcement last year at the AniFest online festival. I made a whole big deal about it, so I decided I might watch an episode. And I was easily able to be distracted by other things that I kind of lost track of what was happening in the show. So it didn't pull me in at all. We have these two students that just don't get along with each other. I think they hate, yeah, in the title, they hate each other. They just want nothing to do with each other. But then their grandparents, I believe, pull them into and tell them that they're going to have to marry each other. Of course, they don't want anything to do with it, but then they find out the ultimatum is that if they don't do this, they're going to be removed from basically anything that they would receive from the family. So now they have to suck it up and go with this arranged marriage, to keep their lifestyles. And then they find out they're forced to also live with each other throughout their high school moments to build their love. And yeah, not much else to say about this show. Anyone else have anything to say about it? I think
which one are we on right now?
I'm marrying the girl I hate in my class, or something like that.
Oh, I was only saw like little snippets here and there, so I don't really have much of a say on this one.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and skip Pharma or Pharmagia. And I think we can also skip, even given the worthless appraiser class, I'm actually the strongest. Right, Albert? We can skip that?
Skip.
Yeah, and we'll go straight to this title that we're actually watching. It's kind of fun. What is this again? Guild?
Yeah.
There's the title. Boom, boom. So the title is I may be a guild receptionist, but I'll solo any boss to clock out on time. Based on a light novel, but I've read the manga. And the only thing I have to say about this show is that this screams to me, this is isekai, it's isekai, but it isn't. I feel everything in this show is has been influenced by isekai a lot, but I'll let someone else talk about it. Dragon, go.
Uh, I only remember like watching the first parts of the first episode, but I thought it was pretty like interesting how like because most of the times when we get into like this type of like isekai where we're following an adventurer that has enrolled into the Adventurers Guild and is doing like dungeon runs, we follow the adventurer and their journey in the dungeon, right? But instead, like we're focusing on the guild receptionist, so we see a little bit of what her work is like, but then like later that night, she will go into the dungeon and like literally like solo like a dungeon boss. And like she's like super like cracked at like being like an adventurer and like she could totally do it, but she's just doing to get out of her but I don't know. I think it's a funny concept and I'm looking forward to watching the next episode since I haven't had the chance to watch the next yet.
All right, I'll go a little more into it then. Um,
Yeah.
Alina, I believe her name, is the receptionist. Um, she just hates overtime, but she wants a nice, steady life, one that's reliable. That's why she picked the receptionist life because she's heard that um, by being in this work, she's guaranteed, um, you know, what she needs in life.
Like job stability,
Yeah, job
basically. Oh,
stability. Yeah, so but due to working in this as a receptionist, she finds that she's constantly overthrown with overtime, either due to
mm,
new dungeons or the bosses not being defeated fast enough and such. And I think also a lot has to do with her skill because it also seems that she's not super skilled at her job. Like she knows how to do it, but she's not the most and she's not the best at it. So
mm,
um, she decides to get out of overtime and to help herself from these quests that are piling up. Is that and also it also seems to release stress. Is that she goes into the dungeon and in secret and defeats the bosses to try to get this overtime through and over with. So
mm.
that seems to be the biggest premise. But as we go on, um, she's going to run into other conflicts because her identity gets revealed, and she's known as I think the executioner, and due to the good eyesight of one adventurer, she's found out, and her identity's found out, and also other events that happen, other more and more people tend to find out who she is. So it's going to be her trying to balance keeping everything a secret and also staying as a receptionist so that she doesn't lose her job stability. And yeah, I think as far as the anime's gone for episode 3, I think a little bit further the manga's gone as I've read.
Oh, okay.
I haven't read a lot of it. I can't remember how much of it is out, but it is based on the light novel, so the light novel's probably got a lot more out there.
I think there's like 6, maybe 7 volumes of the manga out now. So that's probably what they'll cover this season in 13 episodes, 12, 13 episodes.
But
Yeah, so it's a fun, kind of lighthearted, but around episode 3, there's some darker elements that show up. You realize why she wants to be a steady job guild receptionist and all that. There's some tragedy in the background and stuff, but you're mostly enjoying it because Alina is voiced by Rie Takahashi,
Oh,
voice of Megumi, Emilia, Mash from Fate, and many, many others. And there's a side character also, a silver-haired hunk of an adventurer who's voiced by Fukuyama Jun, who is the
oh,
voice of Kazuma. So it's a funny interaction, meta interaction, if you know that. But Riri is just having a fun time voicing this character, and yeah, it's a very bombastic, uh, I think, role for her. And then the animation is by Cloverworks, so it's good. And the OP is on a whole nother level. The animation of the OP is just gorgeous. So um, there's that. But it's a lighthearted. I mean, for the most part, I think it's a light show. Nothing super serious. It's not super drama heavy. At least of 3 episodes in. So I would say check it out if you like fantasy.
So I was going to mention the opening because the opening shocked me quite a bit because it's the animation style or the character designs are way different from the whole show. And the opening is its own little fun storytelling, I think, as you watch it. I did notice one thing. I don't know, Albert, did you notice this in the newest episode that they switched the opening and ending?
Yes, I don't know why though.
Yeah, I was so confused because I was watching that and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't the opening. But other than that, yeah, it's a fun show. This one is easy to recommend for right now.
Mm.
Next up, this title. We only saw the first episode yesterday, so I'm not too sure. I gotta rewatch it. So this is called, it's in High Dive, I believe, Flower and Azura, and Japanese Hana wo Saku Shura no Kotoku. And the reason why I have to rewatch it is that I wasn't in the mindset of how serious the show was going to be. So I kind of wasn't really, my attention wasn't in it. And I feel like you have to have your attention into this to really enjoy it. Because it's just, I think this is very dialogue driven and story driven rather than, your typical isekai where you can just turn off your brain and be like, yay, it's fun. But could someone else kind of talk about this? Because like I said, I missed quite a bit.
Well, I've only seen the first episode. I am going to continue watching it though. But it basically centers around a girl who is really good at reading aloud. The recitation. That's it, recitation. She really likes doing it, and she lives on an island that has a population of probably just a couple hundred people. She's the only person of her age on the island. And so she reads to little kids out loud a lot, and she's very good at it. And she goes to high school on the mainland, I believe. And there's only one ferry because, really small population. And so she has to catch that ferry home and has never really been in a club because there's no way for her to get home if she stays out later than the ferry is there. And what I didn't really care for is that she meets a senpai who's very, very pushy and won't really take no for an answer. And I don't tend to like those kinds of characters because they're boundary breakers. And she does some things that are pretty questionable and sneaky and underhanded just to recruit this girl to her broadcast club. But the idea is that the girl that enjoys recitation is going to join the high school broadcast club and there have a much larger audience and hone her craft. Because apparently she's very good at recitation in general. I would love to know more about the literature that she is reading and using for her performance, because it's a lot of classical literature that doesn't get a lot of screen time in anime. So I just hope that Bossy Senpai kind of backs off a little bit and lets this girl just leaves her alone basically and lets her do what she wants instead of dragging her all over hither and yon. But yeah, it's interesting, and it's about I don't know if you call it a sport, but an art or competition that I don't think has ever been in anime before.
So, I'll tell you how out of it I was when I was watching that. You know, that classmate you're talking about. I
Yeah.
Once I saw that she was a student, I was like, wait, wasn't she a teacher? Because I thought,
She's definitely looks a lot older. Um, and she's much taller than our heroine too.
so we did. I did look a little bit into it and actually found that the main voice actress is very new. I mean, she only has 3 titles under her
Oh.
belt, so I think this is going to be fun to see how she goes. I mean, that first episode near the end, chills. I was like, holy cow, this is
Mhm.
awesome. It made me think of a lot of like a scene in Hyoka.
Yeah.
So that got me
Very cool animation. Yeah.
that got me really excited about this show. That's why I'm like, I gotta rewatch this. I missed something. This is looking really cool. So I definitely want to try to pick this up and see how it is. But like I said, I was in the bad mindset when I was watching this because I think we just finished watching some dumb isekai stuff. So, um, but it looks very very interesting, and I believe the company is the one that does Moshoku Tensei because it had that very same style. And
Oh, I wasn't aware.
so, at least it's got a good company, I think, for the animation because I think they did a really good stuff on the Moshoku Tensei series. So, I'm kind of excited to get into this now. It is on High Dive. It's one of the, I think there's only 4 titles on High Dive this season. And I can't wait to get into this. But it made us start talking a lot about, I think I was talking about Dragon about audiobooks and stuff like that and how
Hmm.
and things like that and how you talk and tell stories in your enunciation and stuff. So I'm hoping this is something that would inspire Dragon to read to us online some more stories. But so far it's pretty entertaining. Anyone else have anything to add? Nope.
No.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Oh my god, this title. Hazure, whatever. Skill. What's this in Crunchyroll again? Oops, wrong title. Bogus skill, fruit master. About that time, I became able to eat unlimited number of skill fruits that kill you. Yay! Super long title. More likely a light novel, right?
Light novel title.
But not isekai.
Oh, fantasy?
Yes, pure fantasy. We got your country bumpkins that go to the temple, church, whatever you want to call it, and at a certain age they receive they go to a ceremony to receive a skill, and the way they get these skills is by eating a skill fruit. But they are told that if you eat more than one skill fruit, you won't gain more skills. You'll die because I guess it's just so potent that our bodies can't take it, and if you eat 2, it kills you. So our main protagonist wishes to be an adventurer, and go out there, make a name for himself, along with his partner and childhood friend. But at the ceremony, he finds out he gets the bogus skill fruit master, while the friend becomes gets a super super duper skill. I can't remember what the skill was. Kind of like sword master or some weird thing. Actually, that's what he gets, but some divine skill. But so he's labeled as useless. The church kind of kidnaps the girl and says that she can't just lays away in the out in the country. She needs to use those skills for the better of the kingdom, and so they're separated. And now he's at home and growing fruit, but by some accident, he ends up eating another fruit, but rather than killing him, he ends up gaining another skill, and he realizes that because of his fruit master, he's immune to the poisons of the fruit. So he ends up getting a sword skill, and is now decides to go on the adventure to find his friend. So yeah, that's the gist of the show. I don't know. It doesn't seem really that entertaining, that great. I mean, there's a lot of other shows that are out there right now that are a little more that are better. So yeah, nothing else to say about this. Anyone else?
No, it's bad.
Yeah. I was actually fighting my friend because he put it on the list to watch for our anime weekend. I'm like, how could you? I thought we were friends. You're making me watch this? He didn't even know what it was, I think. He just picked it. Next up is another somewhat bad... oh, no. Possibly the greatest alchemist of all time. Now, this show screams bad and terrible, which it is, but it's one of those, this is my kind of garbage isekais. For me, at least. Because it's not good in any sense, and it follows a lot of the same tropes. He gets summoned, I believe, by mistake. He meets the goddess. The goddess bestows upon him some great skills because of the accident, and now he's living his life with everything somewhat going his way. Yay! Like everything else you've heard throughout the season, but it has something in it that just checkbox my little. This is this is stupid fun. I don't know if anyone else could agree, but it's probably one of the better of the trash isekais right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. It is trash, and yet I'm watching it. So for me, the interesting part is they are doing kind of a speed run compared to the manga, which is based on the light novel, I believe. So I read the manga, and they just, completely skipped over some things. So part of the fun for me is spotting what the difference is between and why they might have skipped over. So in episode 2, he ends up at a new, larger village, and is recommended because of his overpowered alchemy skills. The merchant that he's befriended is like, you need to hire, people, and it needs to be slaves so they can't betray you. Like, and he's like, I don't really feel comfortable with this whole slavery thing. And so it takes him a while, right, before he finally agrees to it, seeing the merits of having someone that can't betray you and, potentially get him into dire situations because he has cheat skills, essentially. So in the anime, it's like he has a little discussion. I'm not comfortable. Okay, I'll buy a slave. That's what I mean by some weird, speed running. There are other scenes like that happens. Also, some of the naming is weird in the anime because it's clearly the goddess's the goddess's name is Norn, as in the Norns of Norse mythology, but for some reason they call her Lady Nolan. Even so, there are some weird things going on. I try not to pay too much attention to the subtitles, but not sure why. But yeah, anyway, the goddess is voiced by Sora Amamiya, voice of Aqua, another goddess. Oh, that's fun. And yeah, it's just very mid, but enjoyable mid, not too offensive, unlike Fruit Master, which was just outright offensive to me. So,
Yeah, and I think the main protagonist is also a little more likable because he's not full of himself. He's not a go-getter or pusher. He does push himself, but it's all for like a hobby sense in a way. He likes to have fun and do what he does, but he just kind of gets too into it and tires himself out or makes himself pass out. So it's very different from your typical overpowered, we might well save the world. And the only other thing I think that was weird about this was I think there's a time gap between the summons, right? Like he came a year
Yeah,
before everyone else
so
or something weird.
the whole reason that he got summoned is because this one kingdom is summoning heroes for their own purposes, and he gets accidentally summoned along with them, but that summoning ritual is supposed to be forbidden, right? But because the goddess or whoever is in charge of this world wasn't really paying attention, the ritual goes off. 3 heroes get summoned, +1. He's the +1, and so the goddess foresees a problem with this, so she makes it so that he is summoned 3 years earlier than the actual summoning of the heroes, hoping that he'll have some good influence on the world and maybe try to stop this machinations of this other kingdom. Blah blah blah. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I can't remember how many volumes. I read like 5 volumes of the manga. It hasn't gotten to that stage yet, but he just keeps leveling up and making things. And as a former Japanese person, he can't live without, a flushing toilet. So that's one of the first things he creates. Toilet. Totally understand, man. Don't want to be squatting over a hole.
I think it came with the bidet, right, too, as well?
It came with a purification function, so it wouldn't contribute to the problem with the sewers.
I see. Well, let's go on to our next title then. Jessica, did you want to talk about Hanako-kun in the bathroom?
I guess. Did any of you see the first season at all?
I can't say I did.
Yeah, I did.
I
Okay.
have not. Even though I
Well,
cosplay a character from it.
awesome. It's a direct continuation of the story, so you can't start with season 2 unless you've seen season 1. Basically, the setting is this school that sort of feels out of time. There's a lot of callbacks to the late Taisho era and also a lot of Showa era callbacks. I don't think any of the students in the school have smartphones, and since most of the action takes place at the school, we don't really see the kids at home or anything, so there's this very timelessness effect that's going on that I rather like. And then you combine that with really hard brush strokes around the characters, and it just has a sort of antique feel to it that I quite like. But basically, it's about a young girl named Nene Yashiro who, through a lot of various things, meets the titular Hanako of the bathroom, a famous Japanese ghost. But in this story, Hanako is actually a young boy who died and may or may not be a murderer. And so it's basically about the hijinks that happen between Yashiro and Hanako as they try to navigate around a school that is haunted AF. I mean, there's so many ghosts and monsters and rumors and stuff that are given form floating around in this school. And it's their job, Hanako's job, to kind of keep them in line and not interfere with the living. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend watching the first season if you haven't already.
All right. I believe the style of the show is really unique, right? It was very colorful but dark at the same time, or
Yeah. It's almost like there's a sepia tone. All the colors feel sort of that way. I haven't quite seen anything like it before. And the voice actress that plays Hanako-kun is the same one as Shinji Ikari from Neon Genesis Evangelion, and she knocks this performance out of the park. She's got playful and sinister is kind of what the character of Hanako-kun is, and she walks that very fine line. She definitely steals the show.
All right. So,
I don't really have much more to say except watch it.
all right. I believe the first season was like a year ago, right?
2020 actually.
Oh, okay, it's actually
Yeah,
pretty old.
it's been a minute.
It seemed just like yesterday it was announced. Next up, I believe, is another title for you, Jessica, that no one's seen. Kisaki something or another.
Oh, I want to escape from princess lessons. Yeah, this one, it's not a villainous, it's not a reincarnation, it's not an isekai, it's just pure I don't even know if it's fantasy because there's not really any magic. But basically there's this young girl, Letitia, who ever since she was probably, I don't know, we'll say a very young child, was betrothed to the prince of this kingdom, Prince Clark. And she has to go to the palace away from her parents when she is a kid, and every single day do these really awful princess lessons about etiquette, dancing, the history, with a shrew of a teacher. The teacher's just awful. And she's got a very rambunctious and gregarious personality. She's not the type of kid that can sit inside all day and practice walking with perfect posture. And so, anyway, there's the classic I'm going to dump you in front of everybody scene. And Letitia is actually over the moon. She is so happy because she hates princess lessons. And if the prince is dumping her for another lady, then she doesn't have to do princess lessons anymore. So she runs off and goes to the country and just starts doing random side quests like, fishing and talking to the villagers and basically living her life the way that she wants it. However, it turns out that Prince Clark wanted to make her jealous. And so that's why he brought another woman to this party and was like, I don't want you anymore and stuff, because he has the emotional maturity of a toddler. And so he's trying to get her to come back and resume the princess lessons, which, of course, she does not want to do. So it's kind of like it's pretty lighthearted in terms of the story and the humor and whatnot, and it's really fun. So I would say check it out, especially if you enjoy villainous stories, because it's definitely cribbing from the genre while not being like the genre exactly. But yeah, I'm going to continue watching this one.
So, from what you've explained, I totally thought this was going to be something else. So,
Oh yeah?
it seems a little more fun than what I was thinking.
It's not dark at all, really. I could definitely see where it could, in the wrong hands, go that way, but I mean, I've watched 3 episodes and it doesn't look like it's headed that way at all.
Interesting. I might check out an episode, see what it's about, because it seems silly, fun.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, it'll be a dragon title. I don't even know what this is. It looks like it's Office Romance.
Oh, yeah.
Let me see
So
here.
I was
Chrono.
watching this with another friend because I don't know how he heard about it, but we decided to watch it, and it starts off like because it's an office romance anime, but it's one where like they like both of these workers look like they don't like each other in the office, and they're kind of doing that to kind of like deter away that they are having an office relationship. But outside they're all very like wanting to be next to each other, wanting that like nice like couple intimacy. And I will say like the first episode really was like whoa, because they end off where like they go like after they had their dinner together and like kind of are like discussing like what they should do about like the relationship, like should they keep hiding it, and like they're still hesitant about bringing it up in the office, so they do agree to hide the relationship and kind of like have to deal with trying to act like they don't like each other in the office. But um at the end when they finish their dinner, they actually go over to his place, and we jump to the next morning and they've clearly had some intimacy together. And so like I was like, whoa. I mean, I didn't expect it to like jump like that already, but it kind of just is gonna be one of those anime where if you want to see the hysterics of like trying to keep up like a a kind of relationship like facade in your workplace versus like outside, because like eventually on the there were like in the next episode like they were like arguing in the office, but then it literally cuts to when they're on their like little like date together, and she's like profusely like apologizing for being so like rude and like brash to him. and and then but and so he kind of mistaken is like, oh, maybe she's acting that like she's actually like acting that way, being like kind of rude because of how fast they kind of went with their relationship in that moment of the night before. But then she actually was like, no, it's not because of that. But it's a pretty interesting watch, I would say. I would give it like a couple episodes to see if it's something that you might enjoy watching. But I've been having a pretty good time watching this show.
I see. The only problem I have with this show is that
Hmm.
there's no information out there on where to watch it. It's not on Crunchyroll. It's not on High Dive. It's not on
So
Hulu.
it's
Um,
supposed to be on Crunchyroll. I looked it up. I don't know because I'm watching it somewhere else, obviously. And but I looked into it because I remember telling you like, oh, this is a pretty funny like watch that you should do. Um, and it's supposed to be on Crunchyroll, and then it should have already released like 10 days ago on the 16th, I believe. And for some reason, like I even looked onto like Reddit and like was like digging through and like searching like what's happening, and then like people are like saying like, oh yeah, it's supposed to be released on Crunchyroll, and it should have been released at this time, but for some reason like it just hasn't been released yet. And like so I have no idea when it's actually gonna be put onto Crunchyroll, but it's supposed to be released on Crunchyroll.
okay. So the title in English is "I Have a Crush at Work." So I honestly thought it was going to be these two trying to get together, or this someone trying to find the other person. But it seems like the relationship's already there. You're saying, right?
Yeah,
And it's
it's
hiding
already
the crush.
right there in the first episode.
Okay, very different from what I thought it was going to be. So interesting. Okay, I'll have to keep an eye and see if it does come out on Crunchyroll and see when.
Hmm.
Um, Next up is a semi-ecchi show of the season. You can barely see that title with that background. Kuroya Meraka ni watashi no kawaii ga tsujinai. Meraka Kuroiwa is impervious to my charms. So, we have, I believe they're high school students, and Mona Kawaii is the cutest girl in class, cutest girl in school, the cutest girl you've ever seen everywhere out there. And she knows it. She flaunts it. She takes pride in it. She knows everyone sees her for how beautiful she is and can't pull their eyes away from her. But for some reason, Medaka, her seatmate, ignores her. Is always looking at her with these eyes that just always seem to be upset. And as she calls it, her queen bee attitude can't take it, she has to have him look at her. She has to have him notice her, or else she feels that she's incomplete in a sense. So this show is just is her trying to get Medaka to look her way and to recognize her. But you find out that Medaka and his family, I believe he's trying to become a priest.
Yeah, he's trying to be a monk.
Monk, yeah, and he can't have those worldly thoughts, right? Those thoughts. So everything he does, all of his actions are trying to ward away all of that and try to keep his mind clear and calm. So that's why he always seems to be either upset or grumpy, because he's trying to hold himself back. But of course, Kawaii doesn't know this. So it's this fight. Will he snap and lose to his desires, or will she win him over with his charm? So it's a semi weird thing of this cat and mouse thing of them trying to appeal to each other, while she also goes a little too far. And that's where your etchy moments come in, where she's trying to do one thing, but it goes a little too far by accident. But because of her pride, she can't make it seem like an accident. She makes it seem like, oh, yeah, I'm doing this on purpose. So it seems that both of them aren't from Tokyo, which is where this takes place. So they're both kind of from out of there. I think she's from Osaka, and you can hear her Osakan accent when she thinks to herself a lot. But it's also kind of interesting because he thinks, wow, these girls in Tokyo are really pushy or really daring and stuff. So it's a lot of just really weird misunderstandings that lead to etchy moments for the show. So I can definitely say with pride that I don't think this is your show, Jessica.
It doesn't really sound like it. Thanks for watching it so I don't have to.
And welcome, Vinny.
Hey, Vinny. Oh no, he's under the table almost. Poor Vinny.
Hi, Vinny.
Hello, I snuck in.
I highly doubt you have anything to talk about for Kurokawa, right? I can't remember the title anymore.
The Kuroiwa one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have much. You got all the main points.
Kuroiwa Medaka? No, I'm not paying attention to that one. No, because rom-coms are pretty much built on unrealistic premises. I get that. But even then, the girl's literally throwing herself at him, and he's kind of doing that. Yeah, not something I want to watch in duration.
Next up is Apocryphy Diaries, but I can't find the title, so you guys can talk about it while I find it. For some reason, there's no season 2 title. I'm trying to find the old one. When did it first come out?
Huh?
When did the show come out again? First time?
The first one was fall of 2023.
Oh, fall?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Now I think I can find it. Oh, go ahead. Talk about it. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm so happy this is back. I need more Mao Mao in my life.
I just want to see more funny shots of like Jinshi being like dread, like seeing her with like hanging out with this guy, and then cut to like funny like dread shots or like him like deadpan staring, like being being a little possessive a bit, but like I don't know. They always make those shots really funny, and I always enjoy seeing those shots of him.
So I
Yeah, I
can
really like when they're talking about cats, and I don't really see the appeal. And he goes, yeah, I don't really either. And then Mao Mao starts listing off all of their qualities, and it dawns on Jinshi that, wait a minute, Mao Mao is very cat-like.
I think I had a discussion with Dragon and them about her name. Because like everyone calls her Mao Mao, right? But I thought her name was Xiao Mao. But then everyone was telling me the Xiao is like an honorific or something weird.
Yeah, it's a diminutive.
So her name's just
Xiao means small.
so her name is just Mao. I'm like, I was so confused on what her name was for a while. But I did notice
No,
there's.
her name is Mao Mao, not just Mao.
Oh really, Mao Mao? I thought that was just a nickname.
Yeah,
everyone called her.
Jinshi's attendant calls her Xiao Mao as a little cat, as a sort of, affection slash calling somebody younger, kind of like a, cute niece kind of thing. But her name is Mao Mao, not Mao.
Oh, okay. But we take off right from where the first season left off, right?
Hmm.
And I was totally confused. So I would say if you haven't seen it, maybe watch the last few episodes to get caught up if you forgot. Because like, I totally forgot she went to go work in with the inner court or whatever with the lady.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was working with Jinshin. So I was totally confused why she was back there and stuff. So I think a refresher would be helpful if you're very forgetful like me or just watch too much stuff and you. But other than that, we're introduced to quite a few new characters, right? And also a really beautiful opening and ending. But anyone else have anything to say, or should we just say people need to watch it and just?
I mean, for me, I would say you just need to watch the first season and just get into the second
Yeah.
Same.
Okay. We'll have a lot to talk about at the end of the season. I know that much, right?
season.
So let's go ahead and move on to the next title, which is called Magic Maker. And this show, I don't think anyone in this group is really going to enjoy. It's a Magic Maker, how to make magic in another world. It's an isekai. The boy is reincarnated in another world after trying to... He thought when he reached the age of, 30, I think it was, he would become a magician or a mage or sage, whatever that rumor is. So he tried to use magic in his apartment. It failed and failed and failed, of course. Then he dies and gets reincarnated into this other world. And as a young boy with this fantasy of his of magic, he decides to ask his father about magic. And to his demise, or his utter disappointment, there's no magic known in this world either. So he is just distraught, but after playing around with his sister, they kind of start noticing that is something in this world that I guess he's going to call and refer to as magic that has something similar, and hence the name. He's going to try to make magic in this world a thing. But it's a little bit more disturbing than that. It has some weird family love in it.
Sure, let's go that way.
With the brother and sister. And these characters, I believe, are, I think, around 10 or something like that, right? something weird young. So it has this weird element there. So I don't know. I've only seen I think we saw 2 episodes. I can't remember, but yeah, I don't know what to make of this show yet. I don't even know if I'll watch it because there's so many other stuff that are better. But if you like that, I guess this is something you could watch. You have anything else to add, Vinny?
I mean, premise itself is somewhat more interesting than typical isekai show since magic is not given at all, and this is literally about the person who's reincarnated into another so supposed to be fantasy world, but completely devoid of what we consider to be magic, and he's trying to figure out ways to see if magic is possible in this new world, and B, if so, how can I make it happen. Having said that, other things are very sketchy and iffy. There's the whole familial love, that kind of touches upon somewhere in between the capital letter and the little letter I. And well, the in later episode there's episode regarding what was the goblin, and those goblins are a lot more like a goblin from the Goblin Slayer than your typical, cute, fairly harmless goblin. It's anything but that. It's fairly grotesque. So, if you're a fan of isekai, want something different, then sure, give it a shot. But if you don't rate isekai very high up on your list, then you can safely skip ahead to something else.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'll make Dragon watch it for us to tell us how it ends. Next up is let me see this. Oh, Medalist. Now this is a hard show for me to watch. And that's because it's on Hulu. I don't really have a Hulu account. It upsets me that there's so many different platforms for anime now that I can't get every single one. And this show looks really good. I believe it was a recommendation by Vinny, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a Netflix conundrum. There's always like one show every other season where it ends up in a Netflix, and either we don't realize that was a Netflix, or we kind of agonize over why Netflix. Because we're just kind of used to watching things through the Crunchyroll and to lesser degree High Dive. And then of course Netflix happens with the other show that's on season 2, and The Medalist, which is in Hulu of all places. And I complained to Tank last night quite loudly about the state of subtitle they put it up there, and I suspect that they use the English dub and just literally just typeset it instead of actually trying to create its own subtitle for the you know viewers who actually like to watch it in original voice with the subtitles. So it's kind of a wonky. But the show itself is it falls squarely into the sports uh, anime, which means a healthy dose of a competition, which kind of sounds like a battle manga, but which is kind of it is. What separates this series from some other figure skating ones recently, I'll say like Yuri on Ice, I guess that's the most recent one I can think of, is that it thinks a lot less about the personal dynamic between other characters in a deep level. It's more of a straightforward competition, and the main character trying to really step above from her hijinks of feeling inferior to her sister, to all those doubters, and she's paired up with this really kind of oldish coach whose career really did not amount to anything because he was such a late bloomer. So he has his own sets of a deal with. So they're kind of licking each other's wound in a way to try to move up in their ranks. Characters are likable, but main characters are very up and down. Like in one moment she's nice and cute, and the other moment she looks like she just step onto like a doorstep towards the death, which is kind of hilarious, but that's just how it works. So far, animation adaptation is okay. If you're not too satisfied with it, but still interested in, there's always a manga. I believe there's 10 volumes available in English at this point. But I'll probably keep on watching it because I like this type of series.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so when we did watch it, we did notice some inconsistencies with the subtitles, but unfortunately, we couldn't watch the dub version of it to compare to see if Vinny was correct, but more than likely, I bet that's what it is as well. Considering they named the subtitles, I think CC. Next up
It felt that way.
is this terrible show called Momentary Lily.
Oh my gosh.
And by terrible show, I don't know. I don't mean the story because I haven't paid attention enough to tell if it's a story. But it's from Studio Gohans. If you know about Studio Gohans, they've done so many crazy directional choices.
My theory is that Gohans is not an animation studio. It is a tech company masquerading as an anime studio. And that all of their anime are just these tech demo, proof of concept, look what we can do. But they really shouldn't. They really, really shouldn't. It's horrible. I will say, though, that unlike Handshakers, this one did not give me motion sickness. So you could argue that they are improving in that regard.
So, like, the thing about what they're doing nowadays is that they're doing some strange things that they're trying to make it look very appealing. Like, oh, look what we can do. Look at the angles we can achieve. It made sense for, like, the first movie I ever saw. I think it was K. Because they followed a roller skater. So it had that very skater vibe with the camera following him.
Mm-hmm.
And it made sense from that low angles to the panning around as you would see, like, someone showcasing a skater, right? But in these other shows, they're just doing these weird, like, look at what we can do in one take kind of things where they do these long pannings, swinging around, changing the different angles and such. That, like you said, it's like they're trying to demonstrate to us, like, look what we can do. Look at how powerful our computers are.
Right, and that's the angles of and scene composition should be informed by the narrative, and that just isn't the case here. It's informed by we can, so we will, instead of what is suitable. Because you can go on and on and on about Dutch angles and stuff. There is a time and place for them, but when a bunch of cute girls are sitting around talking about, I don't know, bubble tea, you really don't need a Dutch angle for that. And I guess that's my next point, is that the characters are completely one-dimensional. They are basically archetypes instead of characters. There's the gamer girl that talks about buffs and debuffs and other gamer speak, and it gets to the point where it's not cute anymore, it's just annoying. Because she peppers every single sentence that comes out of her mouth with something like that, and it's just, okay, we get it, you like video games, let's move on. And then there's the older sister character, who that's just basically all she is, the older sister character. And I understand that you can't really get deep characterization necessarily in the first episode, but you at least gotta try, guys. So, yeah, needless to say, I dropped this like a hot potato. But unlike a hot potato, there is nothing of value to this at all. I mean, at the end of the day, you can still eat a hot potato once it cools down a little bit. With this, I just lost 23 minutes of my life I can't get back.
And they also added their obligatory like boob swaying that they've added
Oh
in the
my
past
God.
few shows, where they just, it's like back in the day when you were playing Dead or Alive and you put the age to 99 just so you could see massive bounciness of the breast.
Yeah, and again, not to be a boob bounce apologist or anything, but there is a time and place for that. And having a girl just sitting at a table talking with her friends is not the time and place for that to occur.
But to give a little bit of what's going on in this show, it's like everyone in the world's almost dead except for a few people. And these weird machines drop out of nowhere, kind of like aliens, and then they battle them. That's all I've got so far.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And it is a kind of an interesting premise because it's sort of almost like a slice of life where the main draw is the little cute conversations that they have in between all of these awful battles that are going on. And that's why I thought, okay, even though this is Go Hands, I'm gonna give it a try because I like the premise. So they could have done something with this. Does anyone know, is this a completely original property? Or does this have a manga or a light novel that it's based on?
Yeah, let me click on here and see what it says. It says original source.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think they took some stuff from their old shows. Like, what was that? The girl that can't see with her glasses?
Oh yeah.
Where they always had these weird hair flourishes with the characters. They put it into this show as well.
Yeah, and it's everywhere. It's just too much. You gotta ease up on that kind of stuff. Because when you emphasize everything, then nothing is emphasized.
So, if anyone does watch this, let us know what it is. If it's good or... Well, actually, it probably won't be good. But just let us know if there's anything interesting to see. Next up... Oops, I picked the same title. Next up is The Neat Ninja. This is like the other title that's on High Dive, which I believe are shorts, but they combine the episodes together to make it a full-length episode. So, I'm living with an otaku ni kunoichi. So I guess some men are just, I guess, targets for some kind of demons. I can't remember what was happening, but the demons are more likely to attack him. So this long line of kunoichi have been tasked with protecting these people to create a safe place for humanity and to make sure everything is balanced, I believe. But it just so happens that the girl that's assigned to him is a big NEET, an otaku that just wants to stay indoors and lays about. But she does her job when it needs to be done. If he's being attacked, she's out there. She's there to save him. But when there's nothing going on, she is full game mode, lazing about, reading her manga, watching her anime, playing games. I believe she's more of a gamer than anything. And I can kind of relate to her in some moments, whereas like I shouldn't use this money for food to purchase this figure I really want, but it looks so good.
That's me. That's me. I'm like, I can go another day without a meal, right? I can go another day without lunch to fun for this.
So yeah, rather than weighing the pros and cons of if I should buy this, it's more or less, could I survive if I can just do something like this instead so I can get what I want. But it is a little interesting. It's like I said, they're shorts put together, so there's 2 episodes per week combined. But other than that, I don't know. I kind of don't want to call it an ecchi anime because I don't think it was like really focused on giving us heavy fan service, but there are some fan service scenes, especially with I think her ninja tights or whatever you want to call it. Let's go to the next one. Oh, this show, you guys, it seems like everyone loves this show. I think this was one of the only titles out there that didn't have an Edo elf. Welcome to Japan, Miss Elf. Yeah, so is it Edo elf or Edo fu? Edo fu. Or
What are you asking?
like how do you say that? Is it Edo then elf or Edo fu? Like combining the word for the Edo elf. I always find it weird how they combine stuff or say things. Of course, my
Yeah, I
pronunciation is
mean, the
terrible.
combination word for erotic elf is erofu.
Ah, thank
So
you.
that's not what the show is about. So
Oh yeah,
I don't know why you're
I would just.
focused on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would just. That word just got cut in my head. I know this is one of the few titles that doesn't have that, which is I'm happy. I'm happy because the past few have been nothing but that. Care to talk about it, Albert?
Sure, ostensibly isekai. The main character Kazuhiko has been able to dream and dream a consistent dream that he's in another world, a fantasy world, right? And there he has a friend who is a female elf named Maribel, I think it was her full name. And they go on little adventures. And the thing about it is he can somehow bring with him lunch when he dreams. So he makes a little, bento box, puts it by his bed, goes to sleep. He wakes up in the other world as a younger version of himself and goes on little adventures. And when he gets hungry, he opens up his bento box, which is the same exact bento he made, right? So not exactly explained, but this one time he and the elf girl goes to a dungeon to go they heard a rumor that there was a dragon and they wanted to go see the dragon's eggs. And they get blasted by fire and are killed. But when that happens, Kazuhiko always wakes up in his bed and essentially is able to respawn the next night, right? So he thinks it's all a dream, but he wakes up this time because the two of them, were about to die. He grabs the elf girl to kind of shield her. They die. He wakes up in his bed, and lying next to him is the elf girl. And he's like, what? And so it's kind of an isekai, reverse isekai, not a dream. And the first episode, he introduces her, to his actual world, his Japan. He's actually a salaryman. He goes to work, he comes home and dreams this other life. But now that she's here, he gets to, show her around and do that. So the first episode is him just doing that. And I think it's in the second episode where they have the discussion of, well, what does this actually mean? If we fall asleep together, maybe we can go back to her world, her original world, the fantasy world that he thought was a dream, but is real. And so, yeah, it turns out they can go back and forth. So therein becomes he goes there and brings her back with him to Japan. And so hence the title, Welcome to Japan, Miss Elf. And as of episode 3, they're on an adventure, they get killed, but there's something going on in the ruins where they were attacked by a monster. So I think they're going to make plans to go back there and find out what's actually going on. So, it's a comfy show. It feels more slice of life with the Japan scenes. Also, the food looks good. He makes these bentos, and they go eat out at restaurants, and he makes, at his home in his apartment, like katsudon, pork cutlet bowl, and they're well animated. So, it has that vibe, comfy vibe of campfire cooking in another world. Not as gorgeously animated as that food in that show, but still not bad. So if you like, kind of this comfy isekai, you might want to check it out.
I will say this show did surprise me with how back and forth it was. We're not just spending all the time in our world, which I thought this was going to be. I thought there was going to be a reverse isekai where the elf was in Japan for the rest of the show, and she tries to learn and to live in this new world. But it's actually a combination of them going back and forth between new discoveries in Japan and also great adventures in the other world. So that was pretty fun. But other than that, it's been very, very fun, and I don't know what else to say about the show. Anyone else have anything else to say? Nah.
Nope.
I think we can move on. I think the main character actually is voiced by the guy who did what's his name? Subaru Natsuki. And all throughout what was X or whatever you call it, Twitter, they announced him being married to the voice actress who played Puck, and now she's also plays the dragon voice in this show. It's the Dragon Girl. So the new married couple working on their first anime together. Let's go ahead and move on to the next title. Okinawa. This was not what I expected from an Okinawa show, but
What did you expect?
kind of like a softer accent like you would see in the Kuroiwa America show, where how she speaks it, not this weird dialect that they're using, which is pretty fun in a sense to see how vastly different it is compared. It's kind of like it's just very entertaining to see how what she says, and I'm like, I have no idea what she's saying, and then you hear it in the actual, the cleaner Japanese, I guess you could say, or proper Japanese, maybe. I don't know how you would say the normal Japanese is, but and how vastly different they are from each other. I'm like, there's no way I could have connected the two. So I kind of in with this guy on his confusion half the time. I'm like, how come you can't decipher some of it?
So how much of Japanese history do you know? Because this is kind of important. Okinawa and the islands around it, called the Ryukyu Islands, were originally not part of mainland Japan. They were a kingdom of their own, okay? And their language is different than Japanese. So the dialect that you hear them speaking, the Okinawan dialect, is kind of a mashup between standard Japanese that the people from mainland and even Kyushu brought over when they took over Okinawa, and their local original language. So that's why it's completely different. It's not just a dialect. It actually was a different language. Same thing happened in Hokkaido. The indigenous people, the Ainu, their language is completely different. But when the mainland went over there and took it over, Japan also had their period of expansion and colonialism. They drove out the indigenous people and tried to eradicate their language. So this kind of thing happens everywhere. So the Okinawa dialect is very hard to understand. Like, I'm listening to it and I have no idea what the hell they're speaking. But in some cases, it's a mishmash, so I can pick up some things, but I knew from the get-go that it would be like this. So this is, I believe it's based on the manga, which I've read a couple of volumes, and I was really interested to actually hear the spoken language. And for anime, you need big names for big draws, right? So the two main leads, the girls, Higa-san and totally blanking on
Kana?
the girls. Kana. No, wait. No, that's Higa's other name, right? So what's the girl that he actually likes?
Oh, Hina.
Anyway, they're not the voice actors are not from Okinawa. Okay, so I don't really know how authentic Akari Kito is saying the Okinawa words. So Akari Kito is the voice of Nezuko, but she has had many other speaking roles, obviously. So not sure about that, but a lot of the other people, the side characters, the classmates, the uncles and the parents and all of that, they actually did cast a lot of people who are originally from Okinawa or have lived for many years in Okinawa. So it helps to bring that little bit of authenticity to the anime. The anime is more of comedy, slice of life, with a little bit of rom-com in there, obviously. But I'm mainly watching it so I can hear the Okinawan dialect being spoken and the ridiculous amount of subtitles that show up whenever they speak, because they're essentially doing a phonetic translation, and then followed by, at some point, an explanation or the Japanese equivalent. And to show that also in English, it's a lot more screen intensive. So there's that going on. But yeah, it's a cute little slice of life anime set in Okinawa. So if you're interested in that, or some of the different cultures in Japan, it is a very different feeling.
Mm-hmm. All I can say about this show is I know who I'm rooting for. Go Kana. Let's go ahead and move on to the next title. But I definitely recommend this, Jessica, just to check out the first episode and see how crazy that language can get.
Yeah, I'll have to do that.
And it's on Crunchyroll for people who don't know.
Awesome.
The next title is Solo Leveling. I don't know. I don't think there's much to say about this, right? If you're on the Solo Leveling hype train, you're watching this already. There is a lot of content that is glossed over, skipped, and such. I believe Albert mentioned someone earlier that does kind of like these recaps or like skipped content reviews about it. They are slightly delayed, I think, due to having to be edited to put on YouTube. But if you want to get the full story of what's going on, definitely read the manhwa alongside. But to me, it feels like a lot of the majority of the content skip is a lot of the battles, so it's not too much, especially with the tower. So that's all I have to say about that. No one else has anything to say, right?
No, I mean, if you finish the first season, you're most likely gonna just continue watching into the second season. So
Next up is the Erofu. uh, S rank monster. How do you say this in English? The Henko, the elf girl's cat, is secretly an S ranked monster. I believe it was Vinny that pointed out that this was a manga out there when we were watching it. And it's a very ecchi manga. And I believe since this is on High Dive has a very interesting way in that they don't censor a lot of what they put out there. So you're going to see everything in its somewhat glory if you watch it. And it's mostly just, I guess, bath scenes, right? Where they're in the bathroom. But we got, rather than isekai, I believe it's reincarnated as a S-rank monster. And as a small little creature, he's traveling around the dungeon trying to survive and is picked up by an elf girl after being wounded. And as his previous life, he was a kind of a knight, I believe. He decides to use his train of thought as being a knight for her, as the one who saved her, and protect her. But also, he's trying to hide the fact that he's a behemoth, because, you know, that's a monster out there that's very dangerous in this world. So he's able to kind of hide himself through the misunderstandings of everyone else, thinking he's I think it's called an elemental cat. So he's playing that kind of card right now, even though it's not really him that's forcing everyone. It's just the misunderstandings. But it's the adventures of the elf and the cat. That's all I can really say. It is. I did pick up the manga. I'd read a little bit of it, and there are some big changes, but not changes in the story, I guess I would say. They have some other things that are somewhat changed.
Yeah, some of
That
those
elf
changes
has
are
an issue.
weird. Yeah, well, as all elves do, right? Is there whatever? It's actually originally a light novel, so there's a light novel if you want to go read it. Thank.
I don't know about this one. What were you going to say, Vinny? Or
That elf has an issue. Actually, more than one issue, many issues.
oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah. There's a lot of these weird. How would you say it? She implies a lot of things that are somewhat disturbing. So yeah, if you like edo or ecchi or perverted anime, you might want to try this show, I guess. But it's not isekai, right? It's just a reincarnated.
Yeah, he was. I think it's the same world, and he was reincarnated. He was formerly a knight, so that's why he's always talking about I've got to be, you know, knightly and all that, and yet he gets stuck between her boobs. So there's that. Anyway, I'm gonna get going, so carry on without me, and we'll catch up later.
All right, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining,
now.
Albert.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Next up is a show I really want to follow, but it's always misses me because I'm not on Netflix a lot. It's Sakamoto Days.
Sakamoto Days.
From what I've seen, I saw a preview and it made me fall in love. I was like, oh, this is so cool. I gotta watch this. And I got to see the first episode. So I'm kind of excited to see what the rest of the show is going to be about. Seems like Sakamoto was, I think, previously, I don't know. Do I want Do you want to say he was an assassin or just like a
He's a
cleanup
hitman.
man?
No, hitman.
A
So
hitman?
yeah,
So he was a hitman for some kind of gain, right?
For the mafia.
The
Yeah.
mafia. Would you say, is it mafia or yakuza? Is there really a difference?
well,
It's
it'd be
unclear.
a difference of like country of origin, I guess,
Yeah.
because like Yakuza is like is a gang, but it's more so that that it's based in Japan, versus like the term gang is, I would say, more, I guess, open to like as a general term, or like mafia is like, I guess, more what, I guess, Italian American. That's what you would think mafia mostly.
Huh, it's strange how they use different words for different groups. Like, what is it, mob, if it's Russian?
Mm.
The Russian mob? Mafia. Okay. Yeah, but he's decided to settle down and not go back to those days. And but I believe because of what he was, it's going to follow him in his life now, right? I've only seen one episode, so I'm kind of dark on what the rest of the show is going to be about.
Also, like, yes, it follows because the person that is basically like putting up the bounty for Sakamoto is the old like organization that he worked for, like the old gang that he worked for. And it's to like, try and be like, oh, we're gonna teach him a lesson for like breaking the rules and leaving us. And so that's why they put a bounty on him. And that's when, all the all the different like hitmen are trying to go and claim that bounty. And it's kind of like the general gist of the story.
So, and then he's joined with a friend, Shin,
Yes.
who surprisingly is an Esper, I believe, right? He can read minds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too sure, like, the extent of his abilities, like if there's a certain distance. I believe they did hint to that in the first episode
There
when
is.
he was fighting, but I didn't remember it. But it seems like one of those shows of like the duo protecting their home while trying to hide the fact that they're protecting their home from the family, right? But it is a really fun show from what I saw from episode 1, and I'm really excited to see the rest of it.
Yeah.
What about you, Jessica? Did you see any of it, or?
Yeah, I've seen 2 episodes and I really like it. I'm a big fan of juxtaposition, and this is doing that in spades. I just like the nice little life that he's carved out for himself, but he's got this really terrible past, and the jokes are really good, they land well, and the fight scenes are animated nicely.
All right. Let's go to the next title. I don't want to keep us here forever. It seems like we're... Okay, I got a few more titles that I want to try to get through before we end. The other one is The Salaryman. Headhunted to another world, the salary from the Big Four. Isekai. I believe there's a manga out there that I've read. And that first episode followed it quite well. That made me think I don't have to watch the anime because I kind of already know what's going to happen. But what do you have to say about it, Vinny? I think you're the one that's watched all of it or up to date.
Yeah, I mean, the basic premise is that overworked and underappreciated salaryman, which is kind of trope in itself, was forcibly summoned into new world. Well, this time, he didn't get sent out to Isekai by getting hit by trucks or what have you. It was just forcibly summoned I think he was getting into an accident, and that was the moment where the demon lord summoned him and basically tell him, "Hey, listen, I saw what you did with your old company. I am very impressed by how you're managed to able to perform so well and get all the things done. I want your talent to work for me as my one of the four heavenly king." And of course, this guy freaks out. He's like, "Wait a minute, it's like that's like way above my pay grade and responsibility. Are you sure you picked the right person?" And it's a yes. As a matter of fact, I'll prove it to you that you're the right person. Puts him in charge of a contract negotiation that has stalled because he put another demon lord underling who's a little hot tempered for her own good, and he had managed to able to perform that job well done, and he decided to, okay, let me stick around and try to live up to your expectation kind of thing. And of course, him being a human surrounded by all those demons and demon humans, there's also cultural clashes that he has to navigate through, bunch of a misunderstanding that pops up in episodes 2 and beyond. But as Tank said, if you read a manga and you liked it but not liked enough to want to watch anime, you can kind of skip it. But if you did not read the manga before, this is probably one of the better isekai series. It's not A1 brain dead, and two, the main character is not one bit either. So it's a lot more enjoyable, somewhat more mature level type of series. And I believe Albert mentioned it a little while ago. There's a moment about reflection that kind of projected in like a Japanese bar setting, which is kind of weird. And that's uniquely anime only. That's not something that you see in manga, but it pops up every episode whenever he's facing dilemma. But yeah, it's overall enjoyable start so far.
I think it's one of the shows where the protagonist is not OP, right?
Very basic human.
Okay. Speaking of OP, the next title is the Red Ranger, right? What's it called? The Red Ranger becomes an adventurer in another world. So now we're mixing our Sentai with Isekai. I've only seen one episode, which was really weird, and it does a lot of play on words. I don't know. I think all of Sentai does use a lot of play on words for all their things, right? I don't watch enough to know, but I think their group is called Kizuna something, which refers to bonds. So every single one of his things has to do with the bond, or bonding, or keeping those bonds strong. And even
yeah, Kizuna with the color, the Kizuna red, Kizuna pink.
Yes, but it seems that he's been selected by a mage that has her family's on the decline, and to try to rise back up, she decides that she needs to kind of get some new something new, and decides, I think she's following the boy to try to figure out his power, right, or how he's able to use these abilities, so she can kind of replicate it. So it's just I think it's just going to be her following the Red Ranger and all the antics and all the stuff that he gets into. And of course, him being not from that world, his sensibilities are way vastly different, and also no one really knows what he can do, so things are just all over the place. But I don't know. I don't think I want to watch this more. I mean, it's interesting, but almost not enough for me to want to watch it fully with all the titles right there. What about you, Vinny? Do you think it's worth sticking around for, or?
Hard to recommend it, only because novelty factor wears out pretty quickly, and anybody who watched the Sentai series, there's really nothing unusual about Sentai, Red Ranger, other than he just bring up that shtick to the max. So that gives you a little bit of chuckle because there's a seemingly explosion happening every time he shout out like new moves and what have you. But can that carry it into the whole season? I highly doubt that. I recall reading manga, and I think after second volume, I kind of fizzled. I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna read something else, and that's the feeling I'm getting with the anime as well.
All right. Let's go to the next title, which is, I think, another really hard title to find. Ubedebot Blot? How do you say that?
It's German. It's Übelblatt, which I didn't really pronounce correctly, but it translates to evil blade. Yeah. Does anybody know anything about this one?
No. I was very interested in it because I saw the poster with the elf guy and it looked like something I may have read before as a manga.
Yeah, there is a manga. Yen Press publishes it here in the States. I have read the first omnibus that they put out, which is volume 0 and volume 1. Why there is a volume 0, I don't know. The anime starts off with volume 1, which ultimately is a good thing because volume 0 is pretty awful. It's rough. The issue that I have with this is that Ubelblot has a lot of adult situations in the manga, and the characters talk about stuff during those adult situations. It's a really bad way to handle exposition, but whatever, it is what it is. However, with the anime, they're doing a very faithful, put a pin in that, adaptation of the manga, except they are excising all of the adult situations. What this means is that the exposition that occurs during those adult situations is not present in the anime, and so the world building and whatnot is completely half-baked. They tried to cover up by having a little thing at the episode preview where they talk about a term really fast, but they've only got 10 seconds, so it's not doing a good enough job to staunch the wound, as it were. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I didn't love the manga or anything, but I do like dark fantasy, and since we have just a dearth of pure fantasy, I wanted this to be better than it ultimately is. So I don't know if I'm going to finish it. I'm going to watch a couple more episodes and see how it goes.
All right. Looks like Vinny just mentioned that there's a sequel, he said?
I guess. I didn't get very far in the original manga, so I haven't been following news of it closely.
Huh. I'm looking around and I don't see anything. I'll probably have to look deeper. All the site says is adaptations manga.
Yep.
But does it look pretty at least, or is it?
Yeah, it's decently animated. There are a couple of scenes where Kainzel that's the character, wants to get revenge, and he's ruminating on his past, and those have some emotional weight, and I like those scenes. I would prefer more of that, please.
I see. Sorry, I'm looking at this thing, and all the names look really strange.
They're all Germanic. Some of them are actual German words, and then some of them are just supposed to sound German, and it always cracks me up when a Japanese voice actor they try really hard to pronounce the German words, but there's just so many very complicated phonemes in German that don't exist in Japanese. So it does sound really weird.
So is it like those shows where they're trying to say Thor, but they say Toru?
Yeah, it's a lot like that.
I'm looking at this and it says that's a tag. It's etchy. Is it? I didn't make it sound like you didn't make it sound it was etchy at all.
I mean, not compared to the ninja thing that you guys were talking about and posted the GIF of. At least I don't think so. And there's one scene in the manga where I forget his name, but the single male in the adventuring party basically shoves Cainzel into a room with the madam of the brothel and is like, "Hey, you're gonna pay for our passage." And they completely glossed over that. So basically, the tall fella tells Cainzel, "Hey, go in there," and then we have another scene. So I don't know if maybe those scenes are going to be included on the Blu-ray release or what they're doing. Because I would not classify this as ecchi at all. It's more violent than anything.
All right. Let's go to the next title. We're going to gloss over the next one because this one's Happy Marriage, which is season 2, which is on Netflix. The only thing you really do need to know about it is that they did release an extra episode between last season.
Yes.
So there's, I think it's episode, is it 13?
Yeah, that's what Netflix is calling it. I believe it's an OVA.
Yeah, it's an OVA that takes place at a dinner party, it seems. But it kind of, I think you do really need to watch it to continue on to the season 2. Because I think it showcases what their next objective is for season 2, right?
Yeah.
So don't forget that if you're watching or want to watch it. But again, it's still beautiful. Looks beautiful, but not much else to say until the end of the season, I would think, right?
Right.
The last show we'll talk about is this show, which is called Zenshu. Which, does that mean anything special, or is it just?
It does. I'm blanking on it though. I'll have to look it up.
Okay, because like I would think Crunchyroll would give it an English name like Drawer or something weird.
It's very specific to the animation process. What that actually means.
So maybe it's kind of like Skeb, the SKEB, right, for the sketchbooks, kind of things that they use that weird word.
It could be. Yeah,
This show, to me, is a really hard show for me to say it's going to be awesome throughout because it's awesome right now, but it seems like it could fall real hard.
It could. I am very optimistic about it though, just because I want it to succeed so bad. There's a lot of heart in this. And so for the people who haven't seen it, the premise is animation director, right? Dies at work eating really bad seafood and gets reincarnated into one of her favorite anime. And what's really cool is she has this special ability using her magical pegboard where anything she draws, if she draws key animation for something, it can come into the anime world and help the heroes out. And as a result, she's changing the story of what was a very apparently depressing anime where all the main characters die and suffer horribly. And she's saving them. And it's kind of like a animation of the week thing. Because so far we've had 3 episodes, and in each one, she uses her animation powers once. And each time she does so, it kind of harkens to a really famous moment in anime history. So I believe in episode 2, the thing that she animates is the famous Itano Circus, right? With the missiles going every which way. I'm trying to remember what the last one was in episode 3, but I recognized it. Oh yeah, it was Tiger Mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so each one means something. If you're an anime nerd, you owe it to yourself to watch this one like right now.
Mm. I'm actually probably going to look up. I think there's some sites are all about the. I think it's called Sakuga, right?
Yeah.
So I bet there's a really good site out there that can kind of reference every single one, so we know exactly where it's coming from. So I'm going to see if
Yes.
I can find that and check it out and see how well they match with each other. But the thing I love it about it so much is that I love sketches myself. I always buy a lot of books with sketch work or sketch things. So seeing these kind of like the sketch work of the animation rather than the full blown animation doing everything, everything's in this like uh, the preview settings, I guess you could say, for animation, right? It's just really fun to see how it's done. And I bet it saved a lot of work. Some of them, they're like, oh, we don't have to do the full coloring. Yay, we can just leave it as it is for those moments. But Vinny just shared a link saying the title is Zenshu is Fix 'em All, referring to redoing or remastering, so, or connecting to a main character's journey. So, yeah. I will have to say, did you, in the first episode, the movie she was, I guess, known for, did you see that poster? For that movie she made that made her famous?
Briefly, but I couldn't recall it.
Oh, it made me think of so much of another anime movie, like poster out there. I was wondering if you would have known or.
Well, if you can find it and post it, I can see, because it certainly, the character really reminded me of something, but I couldn't put my finger on it, because it had that look of 1990s kind of anime character design.
Yeah, it made me think of Mamoru Hosoda, you know, the Ame Yuki or what do you call that? The girl who leapt through time?
Oh,
Feel to it?
yeah. You're right. Yeah. Now that you mention it, I can see that.
So I was kind of excited. I think they made another movie called Mirai or something weird like that.
I haven't seen that movie yet.
Neither have I, but it made me
I
think of
know
that
the
poster.
style. Yeah, the style that you're talking about.
But
I wouldn't be surprised if there were hundreds of Easter eggs in this that we're just missing because we haven't seen the anime that they're hearkening to.
yeah. And what else was there about this show? Oh, I'm actually surprised with this is I think we're only 3 episodes in, and they're already setting this a dark subplot in there.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, this show's going to get. That's why I'm kind of like, it's good, but I could feel this going down a bad hole.
Yeah,
So
it
easily.
definitely keeps you on the razor's edge because now that she's started to change story and characters who should have, in quotes, should have died are now alive, events aren't following the anime script so much anymore. And so she kind of gets into trouble where an attack occurs that she said wouldn't happen because it wasn't raining. And in the original anime, it had been raining when the attack happened. And she said, oh no, we'll be fine. We can party. It's not raining. That's when the next attack will happen. But it happened anyway. So she's starting to lose her edge in this world. And that's probably going to be disastrous.
Mm-hmm. Though I will admit, I know it's probably for comedic sense or just how she is, but I kind of don't like how they have her hair covering her face all the time. I don't know how you feel on that, but
I kind of prefer it when I can see her face too. I thought it was funny for laughs in the first episode, and then I thought we were going to reach a point where she wouldn't do that, especially because the key art for it, the official key art, doesn't have her hair in her face.
yeah, that's kind of where I was. I was like, we see your face now. Now we're going to see it throughout every single episode, but now, nope, they went back.
It would have been better to have had the hair over her face in the real world to kind of draw a distinction between the two, because the people look the same from the real world to the anime world, and it just would have been nice to have more of a distinction.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping as we go along with other episodes that she'll just have it up in that stupid hair tie. I thought that was pretty funny. I like that a lot.
Do you have anything to add, Dragon? Oh no, did he leave again?
I don't know. I just because I don't know that many of the anime references that like Jessica was saying, but like I just thought it was pretty neat that when she draws it out, they don't fully render all of what she sketched. It's still in like that storyboard or like keyframey art, like drawing style, and I found out that was really nice.
I see. Oh, there, I got the gifts to work. I see what I did wrong. Okay. Next time we'll have GIFs so everyone can see the cool animations that happened throughout the show. There was a movie out there that released this weekend on Friday, I believe. I think they had a premiere in New York like last week, right? Tuesday. The Colors Within, and it seems almost everyone's seen it except for me.
Hank lives in the wrong part of the city.
Yeah, the closest theater is 2 hours away. No, 3 hours.
See you later, Jess.
So
Bye bye.
bye bye.
I just
So, did you guys want to talk about it a little bit, or
The movie?
yeah?
It's
Like, cause it's only for like a week, right? So should we be out there trying to watch it right away, or?
I think you should if you can. I thought it was worth it.
I think it's definitely worth watching in
It's,
the movie theater, but not like if you have to travel like 3 hours to go watch it. I wouldn't say it's worth it. Like if it was like a special event, then like yeah, you can like it would be worth. But like if it's just a normal showing, then I would rather wait. To be honest.
Do you think
But
they'll be in theaters next week?
Next week?
why don't you check the schedule? No,
No, I guess I'll have to look.
let me see.
But what kind of movie is it? Is it a rom-com? Is it?
It's a drama. It's teenager coming of age drama type, I'll say.
Yes.
And I like that it avoids a lot of typical cliche that's really fixated with the teenager drama anime. There's no obvious tragedy for one, even though one of the character is basically baiting to have that route in.
I know. I was so scared. I thought something was gonna happen to her. And I was like,
But yeah, that didn't happen. So, and the character who's gone kind of sideways, I was expecting to be, worse outcome. That did not happen. So it's almost like it's relatable in a way. If you're in that culture, that's how the Chunibyo is basically all about your typical teenager having a boring life, yearning for something awesome and different that's unfolding in their life, daydreaming about it. And a lot of this teenagers drama series tends to inching towards that, but this really does not. It's very well grounded. Everything they do is more or less believable.
yeah.
And I know that the poster itself was angling for the director of this movie. Is also the director of the Silent Boys.
Silent Voice, yeah.
Yeah, try to bring in the fan of that series, that movie, which I did not watch that movie. I heard about it. I'm like, you know what? I don't want it. Not my cup of tea. But I do remember her from the days working as the chip animator for Kyoto Animation, the main seaon.
Mm.
And towards the end of the movie, that certain sequence, as I was watching, was very much remind me of seaon. I was like, ah,
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
yeah, it's a very much her thing to do, and I loved it.
I believe, is it? She also did Liz and the Bluebird.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right.
Yep. I think the movie runs through Wednesday. It looks like.
Nice. And then someone posted there's is it Cowboy Bebop that's coming out in February?
Yeah, Albert posted that.
So if you're interested, I think it's just a re. It's nothing new, right? It's just a remake or
I think
re-release.
it's like a 15th anniversary or something
Yeah,
of the movie.
kind of like what they did for I think what was it Perfect Blue, right? I think it was out
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
stuff like that.
Mhm.
So get out there. I mean, I think there's a lot of Cowboy Bebop fans out there, right? So don't forget about that. I can't say I was like a huge fan of it. I don't think I even watched it.
What?
I know. One of my
What the heck?
one of my darkest moments in my anime life.
I'll say it's like it kind of goes into that. Can you really call yourself an anime fan if you didn't watch Cowboy Bebop? It's up there. So
I think I went the Outlaw Star route rather than Cowboy Bebop.
I mean, dude, I love Outlaw Star just as much as like a person next to me. I do. I have a box set and what have you. I'd even have the opening and the ending songs crammed up in my phone somewhere too. But having said that, the Cowboy Bebop just was so much more influential later on. So
All right, fine. I'll see about watching it during some slow time. Hopefully, there's some slow time.
slow time, waiting for another snowstorm or something.
Maybe we'll see how that goes. But other than that, I'd like to say thank you for everyone. Vinny, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We had Jessica and Albert that left us. Thank those two. They take time out of their busy schedule to join us. Everyone. I know Dragon has nothing to do, so he's always here with me.
What do you mean? I literally work.
now, now you work. But yeah. Thanks everyone for taking time out of their day to join me for this and to talk about anime. It's always have fun talking to you all about anime and learning new stuff.
Yeah.
If anyone watches this and wants to join us, we have anime watch season or watch parties on the weekends where we watch anime and we have discussions through Discord, and it's just fun all around as we point out different things or make different comments that others don't know about, teaching each other new things. Just send us a comment through here and we can try to send you a link to our Discord channel. I guess it's not really our Discord channel, it's someone else's Discord channel we use. But we live there. Other than that, thank you everyone and have a nice season. And let us know what shows you're watching and if there's something we missed that we should be watching. And no, not like this One Piece or Bleach or something like that. No, something else. Okay? But thank you everyone and bye-bye.
Bye bye.